Hunting season comes once a year, and each time, I make my way up to Maine. I rent an isolated cabin deep in the woods, a temporary home for the weekend. Owning a place isn't worth it for a single trip, and I'm not exactly a seasoned hunter. Still learning, still trying to gain experience. My uncle used to join me, but his health has declined, so now I go alone. Last November, I booked an Airbnb near a national park. I left after work on Friday, meaning I arrived late, too late. By the time I reached the dirt road leading to the cabin, the world had been swallowed by the black void of night. The only light came from my high beams, illuminating skeletal trees and the occasional glint of animal eyes before they disappeared into the underbrush. I pulled up, turned off the engine, and listened. Silence. Not even the whisper of wind. The woods were dead. The owner had left a key under the mat. Standard setup. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, heat already on, thank God, because Maine in November is bitter. There was Wi-Fi and cable, but I didn't come out here for that. I set my alarm for dawn, the best time to catch a deer or, if luck was on my side, a moose. Then I slept. Morning came cold and gray. I grabbed my gear and headed out, trekking deep into unfamiliar terrain. I found a blowdown, fallen trees creating decent cover, and settled in to wait. But the wait didn't last long. A voice. Low, gruff, close. "What the hell are you doing here?" My pulse slammed against my ribs as I turned. A man stood a few yards away. Gray hair, rough face, eyes that didn't blink. He looked around 50, but something about him seemed older, more worn. "Excuse me?" I said. "Hunting's restricted here," he growled. "You shouldn't be here." I frowned. "Didn't know that. I watched you ride up last night." His lip curled. "People like you always come up here. Always the same. Out-of-towners. Up to no good." The hair on my neck bristled. "I'll leave," I said, shouldering my gear. Didn't mean to trespass. He didn't move. I turned away, walking faster than I wanted to. When I glanced back, he was gone. By the time I reached my truck, my nerves were raw. I drove to another park, one that explicitly allowed hunting. Spent hours there and saw nothing. When I finally returned to the cabin for a meal, my gut twisted. The front door was unlocked. I hesitated. Did I forget? No. I was sure I'd locked it. Inside, something felt off. My bag was unzipped. Things weren't where I left them. I checked every room, every corner. Nothing was missing. Nothing I could see, anyway. I shook it off, ate a quick meal, and headed back out. Dusk was a good time to hunt. But luck wasn't with me that day, and after hours of wandering through cold, barren woods, I called it. Back to the cabin. Back to warmth. That night, I cooked pasta, let the TV fill the silence. An old black and white movie played, but I wasn't watching. My mind kept circling back to that man, to the unlocked door, to the eerie feeling that I wasn't alone. I told myself I was imagining things. Stress, paranoia. It was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. Sometime past midnight, half asleep, drifting in and out, I heard it. A click. Not the front door. The closet. I sat up, heart slamming against my ribs. The door, which had been shut, was now slightly ajar. A sliver of darkness peered back at me. I reached for my bag, fingers wrapping around cold steel. My CZ-75. I stood, breathing shallow, and aimed at the closet. "Come out now, or I'll shoot." For a moment, silence. And then movement. The door creaked open, and he stepped out. The man. That same ugly smile, that same missing front tooth. He spread his hands like we were old friends. "You got me." My trigger finger twitched. "Don't move." He didn't seem concerned. "You people," he muttered, shaking his head. "No respect for the land." I ignored him, grabbed my phone, called 911. Told them I had an intruder at gunpoint. Time stretched, every second an eternity. The man never moved, just stared, that sick grin never faltering. When the deputies arrived, they took him without struggle. They found no signs of forced entry. The Airbnb owner swore up and down there was no spare key. Said I must have left the door unlocked. He didn't ask if I was okay. Didn't seem to care. Maybe I forgot to lock the door. Maybe I didn't. But I know one thing for sure. If I hadn't brought my gun, I might not have left that cabin at all.